So this blackface thing with Justin is equally hilarious and pathetic at the same time. The reason it's hilarious is pretty self-evident. The reason it's pathetic may be a little bit more nuanced. The pathetic nature of it is that this is what contemporary politics in the West has been reduced to. We live in a time in which a world leader of a major Western country has to call a press conference so he can grovel before the nation's media and pretend to have profound and deep-felt contrition about a costume he wore to a party 18 years ago.
In 2001, when I was a teacher out in Vancouver, I attended an end-of-year gala where the theme was Arabian Nights. And I dressed up in an Aladdin costume and put makeup on. I shouldn't have done that. I should have known better, but I didn't, and I'm really sorry.
See, this world leader has to come out and say that he didn't realize that this was a terrible, dreadful thing when he was just a school teacher, but now that he's been caught, it's become clear to him that he did a very, very bad thing, and he's deeply, deeply sorry. The problem here is not what Justin Trudeau did, which in less histrionic times, reasonable adults of any ethnic or racial background would have regarded as primarily an embarrassment. You see, until very, very recently, grown men and women could put these sorts of things in perspective. They might not find something like this to be particularly impressive, but they wouldn't project serious, far-reaching moral and social meaning onto it. And not because, as we keep being told, that people just didn't understand what racism was a whole 18 years ago, unlike today in these far more enlightened times. It's because sanctimony, self-righteousness, and pettiness were still understood to be character flaws, something to be ashamed of. Indulging in these character flaws is still not quite yet being normalized in society. And the emergence of moral self-aggrandizement as a credible political tactic and social philosophy still hadn't quite taken hold. Do these guys look horribly distraught by this?
One of the two men pictured in the Aladdin photos with Trudeau at a 2001 themed gala isn't offended and wants everyone to move on.
And I know that it wasn't putting down anybody. See, the thing is, if I would have felt that, obviously I wouldn't be in that photo with them.
What's really worthy of our attention here is not that this frat boy decided to dress up like this. What this incident should highlight and cause us to focus on is the self-righteousness and hypocrisy of the mindset that generates the moral outrage that underlies identity politics. It's the mindset of indulging in self-righteousness and sanctimony, of moral preening and pettiness, the mindset of victim culture, of the obligation to demonstrate your piety and to make displays of your moral outrage at the first sign that someone has failed to conform to right think. In short, it's a mindset that arises out of progressive left ideology, and it's a mindset that has completely captured mainstream Canadian politics and for which all political parties feel an obligation to demonstrate compliance.
Racism.
And it is the mindset for which Justin Trudeau has enthusiastically made himself the living embodiment. And the fact that it's now coming around to bite him in the ass should be a surprise to no one. When you anoint yourself and those who conform to your ideological preferences as having sole claim to moral righteousness, when you take for granted that you're entitled to denounce people who don't agree with your opinions on political and social issues as morally inferior to yourself, and in fact as repugnant and a threat to all that is good and true, then you're setting yourself up for some pretty serious blowback when your own human foibles are exposed and it turns out that, to no one's surprise, you don't meet your own absurd narcissistic standards. But this is precisely the narcissism, the hypocrisy, and the self-confirming circular reasoning that defines the progressive left. It's the entire appeal of progressivism in the first place. You don't actually have to be a particularly good person. You don't actually have to be particularly moral or ethical. You don't have to be insightful. You don't have to be particularly well informed. You don't have to be particularly skilled at reason or critical thinking. All you have to do is adopt this particular set of concepts, interpretations, and conclusions, declare yourself progressive, and the assumption is that this makes you morally excellent and enlightened by definition. As a philosophy, the appeal is pretty obvious. It's the only explanation for not telling me I'm right is that I'm a better person than you. And Justin Trudeau is the living embodiment of this philosophy, the embodiment of the superficially appealing facade with no substance, no principles, no character, no integrity behind it, nothing to back it up. And the hypocrisy that has been exposed by the Justin Trudeau minstrel show is the inevitable consequence of embracing this shallow, morally self-aggrandizing philosophy.
I should have known better, but I didn't. I should have known better, but I didn't, and I did that, and I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done it. I should have known better. I should have known better then, but I didn't, and I did it, and I am deeply sorry for it. I shouldn't have done that. I should have known better, but I didn't, and I'm really sorry. It was a dumb thing to do. I'm disappointed in myself. I'm pissed off at myself for having done it. I wish I hadn't done it, but I did it.
This is going to get ugly.
Never okay.